If you were to consider yourself someone who was rich, what are the sort of things that you think that you'd need in your life? Well, it seems like we might be all a bit more similar than we thought when asked this same question, with most of us wanting three similar things. This week, Ramit Sethi asked his followers this exact question: what would it take to feel rich? And there were three common responses that came back. Number one, we wanted to be able to do what we want when we want. Number two, we'd want to have $1 million. And number three, we'd want to be able to pay off all of our debt. In the world that we live in today, there is absolutely no shortage of information. So why is it that with all this information out there, that most of us still suck when it comes to money? Derek Sivers, who I absolutely love, has an awesome quote: "If more information was the answer, we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs." In this video, I want to explore this concept of being rich and also share with you three resources that I find super helpful, who all share similar, easy to follow principles about money that I relate to, so you can check them out for yourself. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and I'm a self-confessed insurance nerd. And on this channel, I try and humanize the world of insurance to provide peace of mind for you and your family. Having worked in finance for almost 15 years and being a massive reader and consumer of content, what I tend to look for when I'm researching anything is patterns. As Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. These clues tend to be the places that I've found success, and hopefully you too can apply some of these things to your life and be on your way to become your version of rich. The first resource we're going to have a look at is the Barefoot Investor. Now, if you're in Australia, it's very likely that you've heard of the Barefoot Investor. Scott Papes sold almost 2 million copies of his book, which means that for every 20 households in Australia, there's one book of his that people have read. The reason I think the Barefoot Investor's been so successful is not only the reach, but the fact that Scott's broken this down into 9 simple to follow steps that anyone can apply to their own life. You can check out all the 9 steps on your own, but what I wanted to share was a few of them that I feel are most important that I wanted to talk about a bit more today. The first thing that Scott suggests is having monthly date nights set aside that you can sit down and actually focus on your money and have conversations that we tend to put off. This idea of regularly catching up and the consistency around money is one of the key reasons that I think Scott's been so successful with his book, because he's got such good outcomes for the people that follow his advice. The second concept of Scott's that I really like is the buckets versus the budgets approach that he takes. Now, if you feel that you're not great with budgeting and not great with money, you're not alone. So this is where this principle of having buckets as opposed to sticking to a dollar for dollar budget, I think is really effective and simple and easy to follow. This principle for managing your money is a lot easier to do than having to have willpower alone and make constant decisions about what we're buying day to day, as opposed to having an overarching framework for how we manage our money both short term and over the long term as well. Now, as you know, I'm an insurance nerd, so I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that Scott talks about from an insurance perspective that I really like as well. His sentiment is that you should only insure for things that will kill you financially, which I think is a really good motto. What I understand him to mean by this is instead of insuring for everything, we just need to focus on the key things that we need to protect that would actually lead to us being in a worse position should anything go wrong. So if you haven't already, pick up a copy of his book, grab it online, read through the steps, and use this for what it is: a really good basic foundation for getting started and taking control of your money. The next resource that I really like is a company called the Cashflow Co. This has been set up by 2 young guys from the Surf Coast down in Victoria called Terry and Ryan, and their belief is that financial plans themselves don't actually work, and they train you to master your financial practice instead. These guys have a really mixed background, with Ryan coming from a traditional financial planning background, and Terry was actually coaching elite athletes before diving into the world of finance and bringing this together with a whole lot of research and data and those sorts of things to set up the company that they've got. They've built a system that focuses on 4 factors that allow you to save sustainably. Now, this is one of the crucial things that you'll notice across all of these resources. It's that sustainability and the ongoing practice that is really, really critical in getting the success for you. They teach people to control time, to focus on memorable experiences, to foster sincere connections, and practice systematic mastery. Like Scott, they teach people to smash their debt, to save sustainably, and how to build a passive income. Now, these guys have a whole heap of resources online and a really good podcast, so I'd suggest checking them out if you want to learn a bit more about their approach. And on top of that, they're both just ripping guys that I get along really well with. Thirdly is a guy called Mr. Money Moustache. Now, he hates being categorized as a personal finance blogger, and what drives him is to help the world to become a better place by teaching people to be more rational with their money. He likes to call himself an accidental lifestyle guru, having retired at 31, and he's also the leader of the ironic fake cult called Moustachianism. And what he looks at is 3 underlying facts that we all have in common. Number 1 is that everyone sucks with money. Number 2, getting rich enough to retire only takes 10 years, unlike the things that we might have read about before, having taken to age 65 or a whole lifetime of work. And finally, work is better when you don't need the money. Whilst they all have varying ways in which they deliver and apply their message, they share very similar underlying principles that really resonate with me. Number 1 is the importance of being intentional with our money. Number 2 is the power of consistency and sustained effort when it comes to looking after our finances. And number 3 is that ultimately control over our money leads to greater happiness. So if you're thinking that the secret to being rich is inventing a time machine and going back to buy Bitcoin when it was first invented, I hope this video has inspired you to understand that this is not the way that we get rich. So with all that noise out there that I mentioned before, these 3 resources are something that I go to a lot, and I hope if you've got the time to check them out, that this will put you on the path to your definition of being rich yourself.